Welcome back. So we left off last time on a cliffhanger. So we're going to keep reading. In our last reading, we found out that Taylor and Austin and Michael were coming up with some sort of plan to try to figure out what was going on in the Pasadena, California hospital with the day they were born. They were coming up with some sort of scheme to figure out what was going on. And then all of a sudden, Michael gets called down to the office. So we're on chapter 14. It's called A Change of Plans. I walked to the front office about as enthusiastically as a man on his way to the electric chair, and with about as much hope. I was tickling like mad, blinking and gulping. As I stood in the waiting room, the school secretary, Mrs. Hancock, walked out of Mr. Dahlstrom's office. She greeted me with a smile. "Hello, Michael," she said. "Mr. Dahlstrom will be right with you." I swallowed. I was afraid that was the reason they were calling me. I had no idea why Mr. Dahlstrom wanted to see me. I hadn't been shoved in a locker for days. A moment later, he came to the door. He was smiling, which looked frighteningly out of place, like lipstick on a pig. "Michael, come in." "Yes, sir." I followed him inside his office. He sat back in his chair and smiled again. "Have a seat," he said, gesturing to the chair in front of his desk. "How's school going?" Okay, Mr. Dahlstrom's being way too nice to Michael, which seems abnormal. I wonder what is going on. I looked at him, wondering if some alien being had taken over his body. I slowly sat down. "It's fine." "Great. I just wanted to tell you that your detention has been canceled. I'm sorry about that little misunderstanding. And Mr. Vrains and his cohorts will be doing their time. I guarantee they won't be bothering you anymore." Oh, it was all I could think to say. "Thank you." He stood and walked around his desk to me, putting his hand on my shoulder. "Michael, we're proud that you're a member of our student body." Now I was certain I was being punked. "You are?" "Absolutely we are." Mr. Dahlstrom leaned back against his desk. "Michael, I have some terrific news. Two of Meridian's pupils have been awarded the prestigious C.J. Hatch Scholarship to the acclaimed Elgin Academy in Pasadena, California. And you are one of them." He stuck out his hand. "Congratulations." Okay, pausing for a minute. So it actually seems like the principal might know something about this Elgin Academy. I don't know if he does or not, but it could be. Maybe he heard about the rumors about Michael beating up the kid and has put two and two together. I don't know. I gulped. How had they found both of us? I timidly offered my hand. When I could speak, I asked, "Why me?" "Why not you?" Mr. Dahlstrom said. "Elgin Academy selects their elite student body using a closely guarded process that involves scholarship, citizenship, and character. I'm told that this is the first time in the Academy's illustrious history that two students have been invited to the Academy from the same city, let alone the same school. We are very proud indeed." I don't know what to say. "Say hooray," he said. "This is the chance of a lifetime. The Academy's board will be contacting your parents directly and extending the offer. I'm certain that they'll be as proud and excited as we are." "It's just my mom," I said. I was suddenly very afraid for her. "And Michael, the best part is that your good fortune is shared by the entire student body of Meridian High. If you and the other student accept this remarkable offer, our school will be given a $200,000 grant to use however we best see fit. We could restock our library, refinish the basketball court floor, procure new music stands, buy new wrestling mats, and still have plenty to go around." He leaned forward. "This is the biggest thing ever to happen to Meridian High. Your picture will hang proudly on our Hall of Fame." "What if I can't go?" I said. His expression fell. "And pass up this incredible once-in-a-lifetime opportunity?" He leaned forward, looking at me with an expression that was oddly both friendly and threatening. "I'm sure we can count on you to do the right thing." I swallowed. "Yes, sir." Okay, I'm going to pause again. Now I'm starting to think maybe Mr. Dahlstrom isn't in on the whole conspiracy against Michael and the other children who have the powers, but he does seem like he wants Michael to take this scholarship so that he can get this money from Elgin University. "I better let you get back to class. Don't want to stand in the way of our greatest student. Do you need a tardy slip?" No, I don't think the bell's rung yet." "Right you are. You can go. Have a great day." I walked out of his office more terrified than I had gone in. Austin and Taylor were waiting for me outside, 5th period biology. Taylor didn't look like she felt well. "Are you okay?" I asked. She had a hand on her right temple. "I'm just upset." What happened? Austin asked. Why did they call you down to the office? I was still processing everything, and I didn't want to upset Taylor any more than she already was. I'll tell you later. Austin's brow furrowed. Did you get in trouble? I'll tell you later, I repeated. Let's just go to class, Taylor said. I need to get my mind off of this. Good idea, I said. Taylor didn't say much during biology. Actually, she didn't say anything. She looked like it was all she could do to not go running out. More than anything, I wanted to reach over and hold her hand. I didn't blame her for being afraid. I was afraid. Actually, I was terrified. I had no idea who those people were and what they would do. I met Taylor in the hallway after class. Are you all right? She nodded but said nothing. Austin walked up. He looked as nervous as we were. You remember the plan? I asked Taylor. She nodded again. Okay, I said. We'll pick you up at 5. I'll meet you at the front of the school, she said. Are your parents home? I asked. They don't get home until after 5. Why? Just in case my mother needs to talk to them. I hope not, she sighed. I'll see you later. See you. She turned and walked off to the gymnasium. Austin and I walked in the opposite direction out of the school. We hadn't even left the schoolyard when I said to him, I don't feel right about this. Maybe we should stay with her. That would seem weird. So, if she'd wanted us to stay, she would have asked. Yeah, I said, you're probably right. So what did Dahlstrom want? I've been offered a scholarship to Elgin Academy. Austin blanched. Oh no. It gets worse. They've bribed Mr. Dahlstrom. They've offered the school $200,000 if Taylor and I go. You'll have to change schools. Dahlstrom will make your life miserable if you don't go. I know. When are you going to tell your mom about all this? I'm more worried about what to tell her. What if she wants me to go? This is bad, Austin said, shaking his head. Really bad. We walked the rest of the way home in silence. I'm going to pause and just remind you guys that Austin found a newspaper clipping that talked about Elgin Academy as being possibly implying that they were the creators of some sort of experimental procedure and that they canceled it right on the day that these babies with the powers were born. So it seems like this Elgin Academy has something to do with these powers that were given to both Taylor and Michael, and that they want them to come to this academy probably because they're looking for these babies. My mother got home from work later than she had planned, just a few minutes before 5. She called as she opened the door. Michael, Austin, you guys ready? We're over here, Mom. We were sitting in front of the television watching the Discovery Channel. It was Shark Week. When is Taylor done? She has cheerleading until 5. It's almost 5 now, she said. We better hurry. Mom, Austin, and I climbed into the Toyota and drove over to the school. My mom pulled up to the school's front steps and put the car in park. Where are we meeting her? My mom asked. She said she'd be in the front, I said. Maybe they're running late, Austin said, or she went back inside. My mother said, you two run in and see what's up. I opened my door. Come on, Austin. We ran up the stairs into the school's main lobby, but Taylor wasn't there. We walked down to the gym. Inside, groups of cheerleaders were practicing stunts. I looked around, but I couldn't see Taylor. Where is she, Austin? Use your Tadar. She's not here, he said. She has to be. She's not. Mrs. Shaw, the cheerleader advisor, was on the other side of the gym. I walked over to her. Excuse me, Mrs. Shaw. Do you know where Taylor Ridley is? She looked up from her clipboard. Taylor said she wasn't feeling well, so she left early. She walked home? I don't know. She might have called her parents. Thank you, I said. Austin and I walked out of the gym. That doesn't make any sense, Austin said. Why didn't she call? Just then I spotted Taylor's friend Maddie. She was wearing gym clothes and walking down the hall texting. I called out to her, Maddie. She looked up and smiled. Hi, Michael. How are you? Fine. Have you seen Taylor? It's really important that I find her. She left practice early. She had a really bad headache. Did you see her leave? Yeah. How was she acting? Well, she was upset because of her headache. Was she alone? She looked at me with an idiotic grin. I'm not telling on her. This isn't a thing, I said. I looked at her phone. Look, will you call her, please? She never answers her phone. I'll text her. Great, just ask her where she is. Sure. She thumb-typed a message. Less than a minute passed before her phone buzzed. She's at home. I felt some relief. Tell her I'm here to get her and ask if I should come over. She began typing. Her phone buzzed again. She says she's sorry she forgot to call. She's not feeling well and will have to pass on tonight. But happy birthday. She looked at me. I didn't know it was your birthday. Happy birthday. Thanks. I turned to Austin. At least she's okay, I said. We walked back to the car and climbed in. My mom looked confused. Where's Taylor? She went home early, I said. She had a bad headache. She looked as disappointed as I felt. That's too bad. Maybe next time. I'm going to pause. This seems a little weird. If Taylor was going to cancel on Michael, she would have texted him or told him. And it's kind of interesting how, like, her friend says that she can only text and she can't talk on the phone. So I'm starting to think that somebody else is pretending to be Taylor and texting on her phone. But I don't know. We'll see. Let's keep reading. Chapter 15, The Man Who Wore Sunglasses at Night. None of us spoke much as we drove downtown. I have to admit that Taylor's absence had dulled my excitement. I think even Austin was upset. When we got to the aquarium, my mother looked at me and smiled sadly. Let's have a good time, okay? Okay, I said. Even though it was a weekday, the aquarium was running a family night special, so the place was crowded. The busiest exhibit was by far the sharks, with their cold, unblinking eyes and their teeth barred beneath them, gliding through the water just inches from the tank's glass, as if death were only a few inches away from you. I suppose that's how I felt about everything right now, as if something bad were circling me, just waiting to bite. I soon discovered that Austin was feeling the same way. Do you think Taylor's safe? He asked me. I don't know. Do you think we are? Not if she isn't. It was hard to keep my mind on the exhibits. The three of us wandered over by the electric eels. Electrophorus electricus are ugly creatures with pocked skin, as if they'd all grown up with a bad case of acne. There were 3 eels in the tank, and the largest was about 6 feet long with a dark gray back and an orange underbelly. There was a voltage meter connected to the outside of the tank with a red needle that occasionally bounced around as the eels sent out surges. Out of curiosity, I slid my hand over the metal corner of the tank and pulsed a little. The voltage meter jumped with my charge. Then, to my surprise, the eels in the tank all swam to me, as if I had summoned them. Maybe I had. I turned back to see if my mother had seen this, but she was looking through her purse. As I looked at her, I wondered if I should tell her about my invitation to the academy. I wanted to, but I wasn't even sure where to start. A few minutes later, I walked over to her. Before I could say anything, Austin said to my mother, "Did you know that electric eels are not really eels?" I'm going to pause for a minute because as a writer myself, I know that writers don't typically include details that don't matter to the story. They don't typically write details that don't come up later. So I have a feeling that his ability to summon electric eels is going to come in handy later on in the story. He's going to need to use that power of his that he just discovered he had. We'll see. Really, she replied, no doubt prepared for Austin's upcoming monologue. My mother always looked genuinely interested in what Austin had to say, which was probably one of the reasons he had a crush on her, which, by the way, still grossed me out. There are species of gymnotiformers, also known as knife fish. Biologically, they're closer to the carp or catfish than the eel, and they breathe air, so they have to come to the surface every 10 minutes. I didn't know that, my mother said. They're at the top of the food chain, which means they have no natural predators. In fact, even a baby electric eel can paralyze an alligator with its shock. I knew most of this already for obvious reasons. I had always taken great interest in electric eels. When I was 9, I used to write EEM, secret for Electric Eel Man, on the corners of my papers, as if it were my secret identity. Still, I let Austin talk. I think he would explode if he didn't. They're basically a living battery. 4/5 of their body is used in generating or storing electricity. They can produce a charge upward of 600 volts and 500 watts, which is so powerful, it's powerful enough to be deadly to a human, though some experts claim they've produced up to 800 volts. I'd hate to take a bath with one, she said, smiling. Or give a bath to one, I said. She looked at me and grinned. When I was 3 years old, I accidentally gave her a shock while she was bathing me. It knocked her over. It was pretty much showers after that. Eels use their electric shock to stun or kill their prey, but they can also use low voltage like radar to see in murky waters. It's called electrolocation. It's how they find their food. Speaking of eating, my mother said, is anyone getting hungry? That was one way of shutting Austin up. Is that a trick question, he asked. I'm hungry, I said. Good, she said. I'm starving. Off to Pizza Max. All right, we'll stop there for today and see what happens next time. Bye.